hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the second installment of our series with CFOs. We're talking about weather impact, how it's impacting the bottom line and all aspects of your business's operations. And today we are joined by an extra special guest, our very own CFO, Stephen Gregorio. Stephen, how's it going?
Going great, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us. So let's jump right into it. So Stephen, we know that you have a really unique perspective on all of this by the nature of your role and the nature of what we here at tomorrow.io are doing. We see weather across all industries, not just one organization. So to start out, can you tell us a little bit about your role itself and how you're interacting with our customers right now?
Sure. So as CFO, I have purview over all of our financial operations as a company, from budgeting to our investors, to our stakeholders, to our employees, to our board members, to dealing with customers and partners. So I'm involved not just at the administrative level, but also operationally, trying to put in place the systems we need to run the business, but also trying to drive, top line growth and make sure the customers get what they need. So I interact with our engineering team to understand what they're doing on the SaaS platform. I interact with our weather team to understand how they do modeling within the weather. And on the front end, dealing with our space and sensor team, understanding how they deal with the various pieces of data sources that flows through our model. So that vertically integrated model is a very unique aspect that we bring to the table. And over the last year and 3/4 I've been here, I've learned a tremendous amount about the weather industry itself, what it's been historically, what makes it up, why we're so unique and special, and how we provide unique insights around weather and data to our customers, and what makes that so important to them in the various industries that they're in, be it aviation, logistics, sports, or in government aspects, be it countries or state and local governments.
Definitely. And so to kind of recap there, so that we don't miss it, like you're interacting with across all of those industries that you mentioned. Again, you have a really unique perspective talking to a number of different sectors, correct?
Correct. Exactly right. And again, awesome. My purview is, at the high level that I can actually understand the entire business model and where we're making the investments to make our products and our offering that much better than anybody else out there. So it's a very special and unique place I get the pleasure of being part of.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's why we're so excited to talk to you today and hear more. So we talk a lot to operations departments, safety departments. Those are the sections of companies that typically feel the pain most of weather. But I'm curious to hear from you, like in your perspective, how does finance, let's say, view weather as a threat right now? Like, is it consistently on the radar of the businesses that you're talking about? Like, is it top of mind for financial departments, understanding that it varies by industry?
Yeah, no question. I mean, certainly as a software SaaS company, it doesn't really impact us that much, beyond the fact that it impacts people and how they can get their work done, be it traveling here to customers or to the office, what have you. But in the companies we're dealing with that are using our software, weather has a massive impact on them, whether it's trucking routes, how to staff a game, player safety, fan safety, assets and people. I mean, it's a safety issue in many cases. So you point around safety. So it's that. And then when you're dealing about the finance companies, those companies, like, what does that really mean? Why do we need to either fund that? How do we sort of protect against loss of people or assets, or part of our operations? It could be revenue producing as well. So as a finance person, they look at all that beyond just the investment they're making in a system like ours to give their people the ability to really protect all the aspects of the business that they're running.
Yeah, definitely. And it almost seems like we've seen this evolution in recent years. Again, we're a little biased from our position, but in the industry as a whole, that previously these departments felt like weather was just this loss that they kind of had to write off. It was unavoidable and didn't know of any way to really mitigate the impact. Is it fair to say that since you have learned more about the weather industry, that is shifting, and now it is actually seen as something that, hey, maybe we could cut those losses a little bit, or right, make up for what we are being hurt by with the weather? Is that fair to say?
Yes, there's no question. I think it's just part of the whole technological shift to automate more things, right? 15 years ago, we couldn't get access to lots of different things, be it finding out where a truck is on a route. Now you have the GPS aspect of knowing where a truck is and how things work. Weather as a government basic focused service has come a long way in the last many years, but it's still nowhere near to where we're going to take it ourselves over the next several years with our eventual more data from space, but also just what we've built so far by taking the insights we have that's not just public, but also privately held. It gives us the most data into a very unique set of global modeling that our team does. And then most importantly, getting it out into a SaaS platform that gives customers weather insights that not just looks at today, but also the next 2 weeks where bad things happening, right? That's never been there before. So people are going to see a roadmap of where potential bad things could happen to them that they can really plan ahead and make sure they don't have those losses. So from an insurance perspective, but just from saving, revenues of loss of routes or making sure people are safe or not losing assets, all those are big aspects that can really help a company, do the best thing for their people and their stakeholders.
Definitely. So to summarize, we're talking to maybe a VP of operations. They understand the pain and weather. Why, from your perspective, is it so important for them to educate other team members and maybe upward even to someone like a CFO about the need for this more advanced technology? Like, why is that so key right now?
Again, it's just about how do you run a business, right? You have those tools available to you where 20 years ago you did not. So you'd be almost fiduciarily irresponsible if you didn't say, well, I have this available to me to use to make my business better and safer. Why wouldn't I use what's available to me to help my company out? Again, around safety or around loss of revenues or increased costs. If I can do it, the investment to do that is relatively minor given the potential ROI I have. So as a finance guy, I'm always looking at the ROI of if I'm investing something, what's the return we're getting? Be it a marketing program that you're running and how's that drive more potential for us? But on the same side, operationally, investing in a system, what does that come back and get me? Some of it's going to be very tangible. Some of it might be on the safety side that you can't, sort of the FUD factor of the uncertainty of what's happening. But if you can protect against bad things happening, that's a massive savings that the ROI almost becomes of a high magnitude that you can't replace.
Definitely. What advice would you say, like on the more tactical level? There's someone, again, this person internally, let's say it's a VP of operations or a safety director. They understand the value of this. To what you just said, they understand the importance of educating other stakeholders internally. What if they're getting pushback? Like, what tactical advice do you give on kind of proving out the need for a weather system internally to one of these folks?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it doesn't matter what's weather or something else. And how do you prove out any technology that can improve the company? And it goes back to the ability to provide more accurate and better data, whether it's around weather or around something else. It's about the speed of getting that data to people's hands to run the operations better, as well as just sort of, many times you want to just have less people needed. So when you can provide automated weather intelligence versus needing a meteorologist on staff to try to interpret something that, they may be right, may be wrong, but most cases our system would be more accurate because it's driven by better models, better AI, better ML. They can use that to give people on the operational side the ability to really forecast more accurately. So that just comes out with better results at the end. And again, there's a great ROI for that.
Got it. So what I'm hearing maybe also is like, it's not just going to the CFO or the finance department saying, look how much we're going to save or look how many losses we'll avoid. It's probably also more of a holistic approach saying, look at safety, look at efficiency. As a result, look at the cost savings. Is that fair to say?
Fair to say, and you can also add on the aspect of ESG, right? What's happening to the environment? How do you impact the environment? If you can help the environment by, using less de-icing fluid, if you're an airline that is polluting to the environment because you're using it at the right times, that's great. If you, governance-wise, just the same thing. You're looking at how to protect your people and your assets. That's a governance thing that's important along with the social aspect. So companies are obviously migrating towards ESG, be it ESG focused funds or just the ESG requirements of the SEC. The companies need to report upon what they're doing to help out the world. Those are all another aspect that we can bring to the table to help people think about what a automated weather system can do for them.
It's a good point. Yeah, ESG is definitely top of mind out in the market right now too. So yeah, it's just another tool in your arsenal of proving out the need for this. That's a good mention. Absolutely. Great. So definitely I've already learned a lot. We're curious to hear going into the rest of 2023. We understand that the role of a CFO and more broadly a finance department right now is incredibly important, but also evolving like really quickly. So curious to hear from you, Stephen, like where do you see your role going within the organization and like more broadly cross industry? Like how is the role of a CFO changing?
It's a great question. I mean, I'm not sure if it's changing that much in terms of how it affects me day to day, as opposed to the way the world maybe interprets how important it is. And I think they realize that having the right financial stewardship is really important. And we have that in spades in our company at the highest levels, which is not just me as a CFO. We all have that financial stewardship to be fiduciarily responsible. But in terms of just being overall, pertinent to the business and knowing what's going on at all levels, again, from acquiring the data in to how we do weather modeling, to how we build out the SaaS platform, to how we go to market in terms of providing our technology to the marketplace and drive the use of it. All that sort of comes together into a very vertically focused business model. And again, looking at how we do that, as a business with our people, with our programs and what have you. So it's very much dovetails into one holistic business model that you need to really have a high level view of things. But again, mine hasn't really evolved that much. It's been doing that for now 30 years at 9 different companies. So it's sort of I won't say it's day to day, but it hasn't changed dramatically. I've always had that focus operationally on making sure that the company's doing the right thing at the right time.
Okay, great. And curious, Stephen, on the industry side, we know that essentially all industries can benefit from weather intelligence. Are there any certain sectors that you think are maybe really most impacted by weather right now, or could most benefit from digitizing their systems? Curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, no question. I think about a few industries out there. I'd say aviation airlines is probably one that comes to mind, top of mind, both in the amount of assets they have at their disposal, but also the amount of people that they're carrying that they're responsible for. It's really critical to be able to track that. And as you know, probably maybe many of the listeners don't know, there's really no radar, for example, over the oceans of the world, right? As we get to space, we'll provide that much more data. So again, having information like that available to an airline when they fly from Boston, being parochial to London over the Atlantic, today they don't have that weather information. We can give that to them. So they would be irresponsible not to have that. To the point around using their different kinds of fluids when they're de-icing planes, the less of that, the better. So that's one area I think is really big. Logistics, I think, is another one where, there's trucks all over the road. Again, there's big assets out there, the trucks themselves, what they carry in, and the drivers themselves, where they're located. Are they going through bad patches of weather? Now with GPS, linked in with our weather data, they can prevent bad accidents from happening, be it high winds, icy roads, whatever else, and have people detour or delay or go early, depending upon what makes the most sense. We can help all those things happen. 2 mining companies that, there's mines all over the world, and there's lots of potential fines around pollution when they're blasting. If they can know when there's low winds, and that'll help not have as much of the toxins get contaminated around the environments, and they can minimize that, all the better for them, both financially with less fines, but also for the people living in those areas that they won't be affected by the blasting to get the things out of the ground that they're trying to get out. So there's a lot of areas like that to the automotive world that needs to, as you know, cars now it's really a lot of software built around a bunch of metal, right? It can be a big part of what that is in terms of looking at battery lives on electric vehicles and how to best optimize that to make sure people are taking the right roads themselves on where to go, where there might be icy storms going versus going earlier or later or what have you. So lots of areas. And then on the government side, there's so many countries around the world that don't have their own meteorological service at all. We can in fact come on board, provide them with all they need at a relatively small fraction of what they would spend if they had to build up an actual meteorological service, give that real-time data to them on a very much SaaS basis with weather insights to help their people, maybe help their tourists, help their assets as well. It's huge. And then even just small cities and towns to think about, being in the Northeast, me, Boston, you, Pittsburgh, we have lots of icy storms, and other places have lots of floods. If cities and towns can figure out when they need to actually salt and, sand the roads or prevent against potential floods coming, I mean, how do you monitor? How do you sort of look at the ROI from saving lives? It's impossible, but we can help people do that, and that goes across the world.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. It really summarized every key use case here for weather intelligence. And needless to say, it goes even beyond just the ones that you called out. Really, every industry can benefit from this, especially with the launch of our satellites. By the way, if you're interested in learning more about that, please feel free to head to our website under the space tab. A lot going on there, exciting. That's going to really enhance everything that Stephen spoke about today. So yeah, thank you so much, Stephen. Anything else that we should be talking about, or any last words or thoughts you'd want to leave for this person we've been talking about, a VP of operations or maybe a safety director somewhere, that you'd want them to know?
Yeah, Kelly. First of all, thanks for having me. It's been great to chat with you and think about some of these things that we just take for granted. I don't think about that all the time, so hopefully it was relevant. I guess I just come back and say that the weather industry has been very much a government-led industry for decades now. We are changing that in the way we're acquiring data, we're building our models, and providing weather insights to people of all kinds. We of course have a B2C app which people should feel free to download. There's a free version that is the best hyperlocal weather you'll find out there any place. But beyond that, in terms of enterprises and governments out there, what we're providing to the world will change humanity around how to deal with climate change and weather forecasting, and get to be a point that in 2 or 3 years, people realize that what we have today probably sounds great and looks great because we think we know how to look at it, but will be a complete game changer as we really drive to space with the weather that we will be providing within our models.
Absolutely. Great way to end this on space also. So please, if you're interested in learning more either about that mission and the satellite launch or tomorrow.io generally, we would love to chat with you. Just head to www.tomorrow.io. You can request more information, see what the technology that we're talking about in action, plug in your specific locations, really get a feel for how this could apply to your industry, your company specifically. So again, Stephen, thanks so much. It's been great chatting with you.
Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Take care.